Hello and welcome to Project Guts. This video will walk you through how to add a line graph to any model. And I'm going to use the epidemic base model as my example. You might want to add a line graph so that you can start to collect data, or just so that you can have another way of seeing what's happening in your model. So the first step is here on the interface to click on this Edit Interface button, which brings up this Create Widget. If you click on the down arrow there and choose Line Graph, it will create a line graph and it will put it right on top of all your other buttons. So move it out of your way while you're at it. Then click on that and it will bring up a box that lets you label things and set parameters for things. So I want to name my graph Population. I'm going to ignore a lot of the rest of this stuff and come down here and label the x-axis. Is going to be called ticks. The y-axis is going to be called population, I'm going to abbreviate, of healthy and sick turtles. Okay, and now I want to create my series. The first series, the first thing we're going to count are the healthy turtles. And I would like that, click on this pen to change the color. I would like that to be a blue color. Okay, now I also want to count the sick turtles, so I add a series, label it sick turtles, and leave the pen color red. So I'm happy with that, and I click on this little X to close it, and there's my line graph. I click on Lock Interface to make that ready to go. Now it isn't quite ready to go yet because we haven't told the computer how to count things and add them to our graph. So I need to scroll down here to the code. The graph is on the interface drawer, so I'm going to start on the interface, so I'm going to start with interface drawer buttons to create some code for the graph. The first one is the while forever toggled event handler, because I want my graph to update the whole time my model is running. And in the same drawer, I want to get this big block that says add data to line graph. And here I have to choose the population, the name of my graph, and my first series is healthy turtles. I want another block from this drawer, which I scroll down just a little bit and get this clear line graph block and put it up here near the start of my setup. And it also wants to know the name of my graph, so that my line graph gets reset every time I click my setup button. Now I have to finish with my while forever toggled code over here. So in the y-axis where we said we were going to count the turtles, I want to go to the detection drawer and find this block, count within with. Let's move this over a little. So count turtles within 150 steps. And why do we need such a big number? And the answer is because the world agent is going to count the turtles from the center of the world out in a circle however many steps you tell it. And because spaceland is 101 steps wide and 101 steps tall, if you only count 100 steps, you won't get the whole hypotenuse of the screen and you'll miss out on the turtles that are down in the corners. So you need at least 150 steps if you want the program to count the whole screen. Now we don't want them to count all the turtles though, we only want them to count certain turtles. So I'm going to go to the traits drawer and tell it that I want them to count the turtles with the color equal blue. So I only want to count the blue healthy turtles for right now. Now I'm still missing my x-axis. I said I wanted that to be ticks, and the buttons about the clock are in the environment drawer. So I want this to register the clock, and while I'm in this drawer, I also want this set clock, and I'm going to set it to 0 so that my tick counter on the graph also resets to 0 every time I push the setup. So let's go up and test that. We always have to click the Run Code button to test our code that we've changed. So if I click Setup, I should see my normal setup of blue and a few red turtles. And when I click Forever, I should see my graph start to show the population of blue turtles declining because we're only counting the healthy ones. And as they get sick, they're not counting anymore. So that seems to work. Now we just have to add code to count the red turtles. And the easiest way to do that is to right-click on the block that you want to duplicate. It will put it right next to each other. And before I click that in there, I want to change a few things. The first one is now I want to count the sick turtles. And I know that they're sick turtles because the color is red. Okay, but I also need to be sure that I click that into my Forever Toggle button, my Forever Toggle widget, and click the green Run Code. Now, when I click Setup, my line graph should clear, and the tick should show at 0. And when I click the Forever button, I should see both the red and the green lines advancing, showing the change in the population of the turtles. If you want to see a chart instead of a graph that gives you specific information, you can click on this circle that's to the top left of the graph box, and it will switch to a chart that gives you exact information about the ticks, the number of healthy, the number of sick. Thanks very much.